The hater needs only 100 subs. So if you haven't subscribed, do your boy a favor and subscribe today. But otherwise, what up, cuckolds? It's your boy the hater. Haven't said that introduction in a while. Don't know if you noticed. Today's video is going to be about the worst heel turn of all time and the subsequent worst face turn of all time. Now, in a vacuum, the heel turn itself, without the subsequent face turn, is still one of the worst heel turns of all time, as is the face turn. But combined together, taken together as intended, there is no doubt that they are the worst face turn and heel turn of all time. You can make an argument that Carlito's third heel turn was worse than Cena's heel turn. You can make arguments like that, but you cannot make any arguments that says that when viewed holistically, as intended by the geniuses known as Triple H and Lee Fitting, that this heel turn and face turn weren't the worst things ever. Now, to make matters even worse, the hullabaloo around this garbage also makes it worse, right? There's many examples of people promoting this as if it is a big deal, when in fact, it's literally an attempt to get some social media clout. Because after it happened, all we heard about was, 100 million hits. Like, it doesn't even count if it's on TikTok or Instagram. Everybody knows only YouTube matters, you know what I mean? They put it on X, people scroll, they see it by accident, they're like, 2 views. Go fuck yourselves. Anyways, the point is, motherfucks, that this heel turn and face turn, now that it has been completed, and that there is no real doubt that Cena is back to being a face, now we can discuss it as intended. So, without further ado, let's get to it. The heel turn begins, right, when Elimination Chamber is turning out to be a gargantuan failure of epic proportions. The entire show sucks ass. I believe there was a Gunther match on this show, so that should tell you everything you need to know. Then we have what will go down in history, in my opinion, certainly in my mind, as the worst Elimination Chamber match of all time. A lot of people pretended to like it because they haven't seen any good matches. I'm starting to think that just the number of new fans is such where, like, if you started watching wrestling after WrestleMania 29, right, you're not a new fan anymore. Now you're like an old school fan, some people will call it, And I don't hold anything against these people. You started where you started, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But it doesn't change the fact that this leaves you quasi-ignorant about what good wrestling fundamentally is. And I hate to be a gatekeeper, I don't want to be, but I have to be a little bit. And the fact is, if you weren't there, like if you were not around the Attitude Era, you'll never appreciate it the same way, right? Just like my parents tell me, if you weren't around when the Beatles were big, you won't appreciate it. And I'm like, well, that's great because I don't appreciate it now. The Beatles suck. What do you think of them apples? I tell them. So anyways, the point is, these people think that this match was good, when in reality, it was a match full of screw jobs, I am sick of this trope where someone gets eliminated from something, and then they eliminate the guy or aid in the elimination of the guy that eliminated them. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest had an interaction. One of them was eliminated by the other, and then the other one, I think it was Drew, got revenge, and then Damian was eliminated as a result. So in other words, it's like, just don't have them in the match at all. Like, they didn't add anything, you know what I mean? The fact that Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest were there, in some ways, detracted from the match, because it's like, here's 2 guys that have absolutely zero chance of winning. Let's just throw them in there, The best matches are the ones where everyone has a shot. Like, one of the greatest matches of all time, in my opinion, is the Armageddon Hell in a Cell, where it was Kurt Angle, The Rock, Triple H, I believe, was in that motherfucker, Rikishi, The Undertaker, player, and there was another guy. I think it was it may have been Kane, it may have been Stone Cold. I'm not sure if Stone Cold was back at that time yet. I think it was Stone Cold. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is, it was a match with 6 people. Kurt Angle comes in as champion. He leaves as champion. That was like an upset, because there's like 4 guys in that match who are more likely to become champion than Kurt Angle. Not Rikishi. He was the only one. But, the way that things were going for Rikishi back then, he was being positioned like as a big deal. So there was a small chance, These matches, to me, stand out the most. The Royal Rumble that Rey Mysterio won. There was a lot of people in that Rumble. There was like 15 people that could have won. Obviously, some had better odds than others, right? Like, I don't think anybody seriously thought Chris Masters was going to win that Royal Rumble. But if he had, that could be the launching pad for his career. right? We see that all the time. Like, someone gets their start at Royal Rumble and he was getting pushed. He was out there wrestling Shawn Michaels on pay-per-views. You know what I mean? It's possible. So those matches are good. In this match, none of that was like valid. It was either going to be Cena or it was going to be CM Punk. Nobody else had any chance of winning. Maybe like a small sliver of hope for Logan Paul, but nobody would have had a shot. So Cena wins the match, thank God, right? Because it could have been CM Punk. That would have been bad. Cena wins the match. It's a shit match. It doesn't feel believable. It was botchy. It wasn't very impactful. There weren't many cool spots. And a story wasn't being told. Effectively, what happened was the same way that Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre eliminated each other, the same exact thing happened with Seth Rollins and CM Punk. The same thing. Rollins eliminates, what's his face? CM Punk eliminates Rollins. Rollins then comes back and stomps CM Punk, leading to Cena winning by submission, right? And then at some point, Logan Paul got eliminated too. But like 4 people, were taken out of the equation just by this retaliatory nonsense, which led to matches at WrestleMania. A very underwhelming WrestleMania as well. But the main event of the night wasn't this match. It was, of course, the Cucky segment with The Rock. And if you watch WWE Unreal, there is a particular episode, I think it's called Heel, right? Where they talk about heel turns. And it's pretty much centered around Cena's heel turn, the subject of this video as well. And in that, I mentioned this, in a different video, but in that, Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and some guy called Koski or whatever, right? And then obviously fucking Travis Scott and Cody and Cena. The people that are involved, and they're having a discussion. And then the show draws this web, right? Kind of like one of those things that the police have, on a board in the office where they trace down criminal organizations. They do it like that, like a web, right? And they act like it's this intricate thing. They act, number one, like it's more complicated than it is. And they also act, number 2, as if it was more brilliant than it is. It's not that deep, motherfucks. It's very simple. One day you decided, let's turn Cena. You told everybody involved, and that was it. It wasn't that deep. They're like, oh, but we told this guy. Then I had to tell this guy. Yeah, you just made another phone call. Triple H telling the story makes it sound like he went on a fucking quest to climb the Himalaya mountains. He's like, oh, then I had to call Travis Scott. So I called Travis Scott. He answered. We spoke. I said things. He said things. We hung up. We felt good. Great. Thank you for defining and describing what a fucking phone call feels like. Dumb fuck. But anyways, the way that they presented it was as if it was this epic moment in wrestling. The way they presented it on Unreal, and of course, the way they presented it on Elimination Chamber, and all the subsequent replays that we kept seeing for the next several weeks on Raw and SmackDown. You know what I mean? So with all this being said, there was one saving grace. Obviously, the saving grace was Cucky Rhodes is no longer champion. Wow, fantastic. Not that it would have made any difference, but then Cena enters what I believe was a good run. This was one of my favorite Cena runs. Definitely in recent memory, but maybe of all time. Because it was a good run with good matches, and he felt like he was carrying the brand again. Because he was, quite frankly. Now, with that being said, this Cena run, because it was so well executed, I should say, by Cena, has some potential, or had, I should say, some potential. There was a chance that this run could have been extended, let's say to next WrestleMania, and someone new gets the ultimate rub, literally the biggest rub someone will ever get in wrestling, retiring John Cena. There is no bigger rub. Not even beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania is a bigger rub. This is the biggest rub, because quite frankly, and there it is, my new catchphrase, quite frankly, the facts are that if you measure Undertaker and Cena's careers, Cena has had a 10 times better career than Undertaker. I know that a lot of people get upset at this, but the reality is Undertaker's a 3 or 4 time champion. He was champion for a combined 145 days or some shit like that. You know what I mean? He was not really this massive impact player until much later. It's hard to envision it for the people that don't watch, but during the Attitude Era, he was the 6th guy on the roster. Granted, it was a very stacked roster, but he was behind Stone Cold, he was behind The Rock, for a long time he was behind Triple H, and then there were other people that were up-and-comers like Angle, Jericho, and people like that were just, quite frankly, more entertaining than him. I liked American Badass, but I think a lot more people looked forward to seeing Eddie Guerrero come out. Yeah, Undertaker and Kane were cool, but it wasn't until later where Undertaker kind of got that mystique of being like undefeated at WrestleMania, which was pretty cool. You know, I will say that it was pretty cool. But the facts are what the facts are. You know, in the situation that we found ourselves in with Cena's heel turn, there was a lot that could have been done, is my point, right? Maybe you don't have to extend it to next WrestleMania. You can stick to your plan of finishing in December and then Cena can ride off into the sunset. But someone's going to have to retire Cena, right? Or Cena's going to have to win. The logical thing would be Cena goes out on his back and someone gets a massive rub. This massive rub would be even more massive if Cena were the champion. But instead, they just drop it to Cucky Rhodes. And this is the most short-sighted thing ever, because what they did by turning Cena face for no reason is they pretty much invalidated all of the heel run, right? And like I said, motherfucks, I said it back then and I'll say it again. We will look back at this as the colossal error that it is. This will not be seen as a good move in hindsight in 2, 3, 5, or certainly 10 years. You see what I'm saying? Nobody thinks this was well done at this point, right? This was just done to create a shocking moment. And again, motherfucks, I don't even know why nobody listens to your boy. The fact is, I said it exactly like it went down. I said they're going to regret this. They're going to undo this, right? And when we look back, we will see it as a terrible part of Cena's career. And that's what it is now. Even though the run itself was decent, the philosophy behind it, behind the two turns, was terrible. Basically, Cena turns heel out of nowhere and then has to justify it by saying, I've been mad for 20 years, which is a shit justification, right? I know there's a lot of people online who are like, they've been working on this since 2020. No, they haven't, dumb fuck. They worked on this for one day. One day they sat down, they set their asses down, and they said, what if we turn Cena? They said, let's turn Cena, and that's it. It wasn't this, overarching plot. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there like, oh, Cena this, Cena that. Oh, this was like first scene when Cena like once talked to Triple H on an episode of SmackDown. Like, no, it wasn't. You know what I mean? It wasn't that deep. And stop falling for this dumb shittery, right? A lot of people are like, oh, they really worked us. No, they only work you if you're like, not retarded, because like smart people could fall for this too, but if you just don't know how wrestling works. It's as simple as that. Like, nobody was worked by the fact that Cena's heel turn would be this colossal move. Like I said in the beginning, it's going to be a failure. Now, as the heel turn progresses, it was getting entertaining. Cena was having good matches. You know, we wanted to see, at the very least, some matches that Cena should have had with a different dynamic, right? Like, for example, Cena versus Orton with Cena as the heel, right? All right, fine. People get to see that. There's some value in that, I suppose. But fundamentally, nothing came of this, right? Because one day, Cucky Rhodes just puts a beating on Cena, who is being reluctant to wrestle him. After this beating, Cena gets knocked back into his senses. You know, it's just like what fucking, what R-Truth said. Remember, R-Truth was like, I'm going to knock the bad guy out of you, basically, Cena. And that led to nothing too, right? This year has been like, by far, from WrestleMania till now, it's like the worst year of WWE. I don't even give a fuck if people don't agree. You know, that's one thing I always get. People are like, you always say it's the worst. It keeps getting worse, motherfucks. It keeps getting worse. For example, last Monday, or, yesterday, like, Raw was not bad, right? So I didn't say it was the worst Raw of all time, Next week, it'll probably be shit. And then eventually, in the next couple of weeks, we will see the worst Raw of all time. It keeps getting worse and at a staggering rate. But anyways, after Cody knocks some sense into Cena, Cena just says, I didn't mean anything I said, Cenation, right? Basically. He just comes out there, he's like, oh, no, Jack, obviously, everybody knows I don't want to hurt wrestling, I'm afraid people will forget me. What the fuck are you talking about? People will forget you? You're not Cody Rhodes. You're not Kevin Owens, who are forgettable. You're John Cena, literally the greatest wrestler of all time, according to WWE. If they forget you, then everybody else is fucked. Because if they forget Cena, nobody's going to be remembering The Miz. Nobody's going to be remembering, like, Trick. You think Trick Williams has any chance to beat anybody if Cena is at risk of being forgotten? What the fuck are you talking about? But anyways, this leads to a cheap face turn. Cena and Cucky hug, then they have an epic match, which should have just happened at WrestleMania, and would have just happened at WrestleMania, and would have gone down as an epic WrestleMania match, where Cena loses to Cody, and then afterwards he can win it some other way or something. I don't know. The point being, right, that the way that it went down was that this match was removed from WrestleMania in favor of the garbage that we saw that involved Travis Scott for absolutely no reason. Triple H is in Unreal, Triple H is like, we wanted to build this around Travis Scott. Why? Why did you want to? That's fucking stupid, man. Like, they don't even think of these things. It's time for Cena's big heel turn. I know. Let's build it around Travis Scott, who has never interacted with Cena. The only thing Travis Scott has done is come out and smoke a blunt during Jey Uso's entrance, looking like shit. Both of them are like ugly motherfucks. You know, you see it, you're like, what the fuck? Like, why are these two ugly people on my TV? You know, what happened to the good-looking wrestlers? You know what I mean? To the aesthetically pleasing wrestlers. Then you go to the ring, and you see, like, fucking all of these, like, hose beasts. You know, and you're like, what happened to the pretty women? You know? Everything is just worse, motherfucks. But anyways, they wanted to build this around fucking Travis Scott, who's like 5'3" and about 100 pounds, soaking wet. It's like laughable to even have him on TV. Like, this guy shouldn't be on TV ever. It's like, look at this guy. Like, are you kidding me? But anyways, that's neither here nor there. The point is, motherfucks, you know, we've got something on our hands. We've got heel Cena. And then what happens? Well, after it's all said and done, Cena just takes a bow, right? Takes a bow. Thank you, fans. You know what I mean? He'll be there on SmackDown to say, like, I don't like Brock Lesnar now, C-Nation. Hey, Brock, you better come out here, Jack. Yeah? Because I'm back. Like, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, nothing crazy. And he's going to have a match with Brock Lesnar, and it's going to be the same old tired, like, Cena as a heel trying to overcome Lesnar. And one time he will, and it is what it is. But insofar as, like, the run goes, it will be looked at as a terrible run because it's already over. It was relatively short. And Cena already dropped the title to Cookie Rhodes. So nothing really came out of this. Cookie Rhodes won the King of the Ring. Fantastic. You know, I'd rather have had Cena win the King of the Ring, and Cena beats Cookie Rhodes now and has like a, you know, like even like a 1 month, you know, title reign and then drops it to Brock Lesnar. So I don't give a fuck, right? Because I wanted Cena to get a 17th. But the idea that he had to turn heel to do it is not supported, right? It's not supported by his current character. I mean, Cody won when it was fair and square, but it was close, number one. So Cena has no reason to believe he can't beat Cody, right? It's fucking Cody at the end of the day, you know? But that's not the point. The point is, even if Cena, like, felt that he couldn't beat Cody, he did it, he turned face, and he got off scot-free, right? Nobody cared. You see what I'm saying? The only person that cared that Cena turned heel was Cody Rhodes and R-Truth. And a little bit less so CM Cuck and fucking Orton, right? CM Cuck and Orton, they felt some type of way, right? They felt some type of way because, you know, they were like, oh, we already knew this all along. Like, we knew Cena was this guy all along, right? And that's pretty much all that was accomplished by this. Everyone that said that Cena is a phony, right? Largely Orton and CM Punk, were now validated. They came out and they said, told you, Cena was a phony. I never bought it. Even though, like, that's obviously, like, gaslighting. But the point is, you know, Cena's heel turn was just done so poorly because of the face turn that we just witnessed. And now, Cena's the face again, and you know there's going to be no follow-through, right? Like, you know there's going to be like, no, oh, I'm sorry, fans. Like, he already did that shit. That happened. He might mention it a bit in the Brock Lesnar address. He might be like, you know, I lost out my ways to nation, but I'm back. Hustle, loyalty, and respect. The last time is now. And then Lesnar's going to come out and say nothing, and Cena's going to say, get in here, Jack. Me and you clash at Paris. If you want some, come get some. That's going to be it, right? And that's exactly how it's going to go down. You know, there's going to be no more mention of the fact that Cena was here. Like, you think Brock Lesnar's going to cut a promo saying, Cena, you lost your way, so I had to come back and beat your ass? No. Who gives a fuck? You know? Nobody corrected him. Nobody gave Cena a reason to turn heel, and nobody gave Cena a reason to turn face. And that's why the heel turn and the face turn are the two worst things ever. Basically, Cena had a mood swing and turned evil for a few months, and then he corrected himself. He calmed down, and now he's a good guy again. Now, this video would not be complete if I didn't take time to address the elephant in the heel turn and the face turn. And that is the relationship between Triple Cuck and The Rock, who from now on I'm going to start calling The Cuck. The Rock has pretty much abandoned WWE, and this one is inexcusable. You know, people are busy. I understand that. The Rock is not really a WWE guy. But the problem is, since Vince McMahon left, there's been a vacuum of two things. Number one, creative genius, or creative intelligence even, right? Because we don't have that either. And two, quite frankly, masculinity. It's as simple as that. The Rock and Triple H, They're supposed to be these masculine figures, but quite frankly, they're not anymore. The Rock comes out with a shirt with harps on it. I don't give a fuck if it's a Versace shirt. The Rock is a little bit weird now. Let's call it like it is. He's a little bit weird. Oh, look at my skincare products. Like, the fuck? No, motherfuckers. One time I was walking at the mall. I don't know if you guys, like, have malls like the one that I live by, but there's, like, this, like, kiosk in the mall, and it's just these Israelis, they sell these, like, Dead Sea products, right? They're like, oh, this is really good for your skin. And I'm walking, minding my own business, you know what I mean? And this Israeli guy's like, hey, man, what do you use for your, like, skincare? I'm like, soap. He's like, you don't use anything else? I'm like, no. He's like, why not? I'm like, because I'm not gay. That's straight up what I told him. I'm like, I'm not gay. Now, go ahead. Use your face wash and creams. Don't get me wrong. But you can't simultaneously do that and tell me what it's like to be a man. You know what I mean? And The Rock is trying to do this. You think Vince McMahon uses fucking face cream? You know what I mean? You can say what you want about Vince McMahon. You could say he's a bad guy. But you think he uses face cream? Like, you think Hulk Hogan ever, like, exfoliated his pores? You know what I'm saying? Fuck no. The Rock probably does that shit, like, every day. Oh, I'm going to put cucumbers in my eyes. Like, shut up. You know what I mean? Enough of this. So this vacuum, the people that are trying to fill it are a bunch of cucks, like The Rock and Triple H, who now are starstruck on their own. Like The Rock interacting with Travis Scott, The Rock should be like, get this fucking little shit away from me. You know, there's like these stories where like rappers and like other famous people, like Chamillionaire, you know, who I don't have anything against Chamillionaire, but there's a story. He meets Michael Jordan in a nightclub, and he's like, oh, can I get a signature? And Michael Jordan's like, no, fuck off. Right? And he's like, but I'm rich. Like, someone else is like, that's a famous rapper. And then Michael Jordan is like, I don't give a fuck. I'm Michael Jordan, fuck off. You know? And like, there was this sense of entitlement. It's like, oh, hey, I made it to a certain degree of, you know, notoriety. So can I now interrupt Michael Jordan as he's doing whatever the fuck he wants to do, being that he's Michael Jordan? No, you can't. Go fuck off. Right? That's what I'm talking about. That's what we need. We need a little bit of that. And what happened was we had two man-children in Triple H and The Rock trying to do something that, quite frankly, is beyond their abilities. It's as simple as that. These are not talented guys in anything other than wrestling, right? I mean, The Rock is extremely charismatic, but even he cannot pull this off. The fact is this, motherfucks. While they're out there exfoliating their pores, and Triple H has 9 bracelets on one wrist like a fucking bootleg Johnny Depp with no hair, while they're doing this, wrestling's falling apart, motherfucks. And this one, I have to blame it entirely on the two of them. I don't know which one holds more blame because I'm not there at their little shitty meetings, right? The fact is, you've got Triple H up in this bitch, and you got The Rock, and they're out there, and they're talking, and they're talking, and they're talking, and they're talking probably about what they're gonna do. Then they come up with this horseshit idea of let's turn Cena, and it's gonna be, you know, revolving around fucking Travis Scott, and to a lesser degree, I guess, The Rock, because The Rock never showed up again. And then they do this, and there is absolutely no follow-through. Now, that's fine. Sometimes you do the long burn, right? But that's why I was expecting The Rock to show up at SummerSlam. Maybe he was too busy, like, tweezing his eyebrows. The people's eyebrow has been tweezed. Yeah. The fact is, motherfucks, you know, you see it like I see it, and you know it like I know it. And hey, if you want to be girly and, you know, tweeze your eyebrows, you know what I'm saying? Hey, do that, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. If you want to be gay, nothing wrong with that either. You know, if you want to be The Rock and be like, you know, like just getting more and more feminine all the time, it's really weird. You know, do that too. But then if you're going to do that, please do not insert yourself in something that you don't intend to finish, right? Especially something that you then gaslight us into believing was amazing, right? It wasn't amazing. And what did I say? Who said it first, cuckolds? You can go and look at my Elimination Chamber review. You can look at the comments. People are like, it was a great heel turn. And I said, this is not going to end well. I guarantee it. Like, what is my record now? Like 101 of being right and being wrong? Come on, you know? This is common sense. This was poorly executed. The Rock's dumbass came in and started something that he didn't finish. Now, did he intend to finish it? I bet he did. I don't think The Rock's, like, you know, plan was for it to go down this way. I don't think Triple H's plan was for it to go down this way. Clearly, Cena's plan was not for it to go down this way. All that happened here was in order to get like a few million views on TikTok, right? John Cena took, in my opinion, probably a massive pay cut in opportunities that he would have gotten because people are like, oh, all right, we'll just wait for him to turn face. Then if the opportunity's still there, we'll present it to him because nobody wants to deal with a guy that's being portrayed as a bad guy on TV, right? That's why everyone wants to be the hero, you know? That's why everyone wants to be Cucky Rhodes. So the fact is this. Cena made the sacrifice, right? And he got nothing out of it. You know, I don't think Cena gives a shit about having a heel run. And if he did, you know this was not the heel run he wanted to have. This was not the heel run that you wanted him to have, or that I wanted him to have. It was starting to get good, right? But it was hampered by the fact that it was working on a time limit, like inherently, and it was hampered by the fact that we saw, or at least I did, and most of you did, right? We saw that this was not working out almost immediately. When John Cena came out and he explained his motivation afterwards, right? Where he explained that, oh shit, The Rock isn't going to be around. This has nothing to do with The Rock. So this was just Cena, like coincidentally, turning heel when Cody was supposed to sell his soul, right? That's how it went down. The Rock had no bearing on anything. And quite frankly, Cookie Rhodes lost nothing at all. He lost nothing at all. The fact that Cookie Rhodes didn't sell his soul to The Rock means nothing. He's going to go to Hollywood and make movies. What the fuck would The Rock have done to help him? Fuck all. It's not like The Rock, is The Rock even like a mainstream star anymore? You know what I mean? Like The Rock's now making these like B-level movies nobody gives a shit about. Oh, Black Adam. It's like nobody cares, man. Apparently nobody gives a shit about any DC superheroes, It's a complete disaster. Like, it's a complete failed experiment, Meanwhile, Spider-Man 19,000 is coming out with Tom Holland, another cuck. But the point is, The Rock doesn't have that same clout and weight that he did 10 years ago anymore. He straight up doesn't. He just doesn't, motherfucks. That's why he's getting into cosmetics and playing second fiddle to Travis Scott. Can you imagine The Rock in 1999 playing second fiddle to Travis Scott? Here's how it would go down. Travis Scott would go to the ring and cut like a shitty Travis Scott promo because he's not trained to do this. Or even Jelly Roll. The Rock would come out and he would say, "Who in the blue hell are you?" And then Travis Scott would say, "Hey man, you don't know who I am? I'm Travis." It doesn't matter who you are. That's exactly what would happen. And you all know it. Now he's like, "Hey, Travis Scott, nice to see you, buddy. Kill him out there. You know what I mean? Wow, you did a really good job." No, he didn't. He did a shit job. Everything that Travis Scott has done in WWE has looked like shit. He like busted Cody's eardrum with a shitty slap. It wasn't even like a good slap. It's just this Cody is so delicate. You know what I mean? Then he takes the crossroads and he looks like he's dying in there. The point I'm trying to make, motherfucks, is that we have The Rock and we have Stone Cold. And they played Tony Khan. They became Tony Khan for a few months. And they realized that they're not even as good as Tony Khan, it turns out. They're such shit, right? So much so that it now falls on people like Cena, who is fucking 48, and Brock Lesnar, who is also 48, to come and save the day. There have been no stars made since John Cena. Arguably, you can make the point about Roman Reigns. But quite frankly, I don't think he's there. I think when it's all said and done, we're going to think back of Roman Reigns the same way we think back of like Booker T and Randy Orton as a B-plus player. You know what I mean? Like, nobody gives a shit about Roman Reigns. Like when he comes back in like 20 years, they'll be like, "Oh, there's Roman Reigns, one of the greatest of all time." And then like, everyone's going to think, "Oh, he's probably just like his father's, Like, oh, is that Alpha's son? Or is that Sika's son?" Nobody knows. You know what I mean? That's how it's going to go down. But the facts are, motherfucks, that this face turn ruined everything. It ruined, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it ruined everything from WrestleMania until now." I disagree. It ruined everything from the Elimination Chamber until now, which must be at least 6 months. When's the Chamber? Like January or February? It ruined like an entire half year of WWE. It made it completely meaningless. And the worst part is that Cena just turned for no reason whatsoever. He was just there, and he was like, "I'm a heel now, children." And then afterwards, he was like, "I'm back, Jack. I screwed up. I hope you can all forgive me. I just didn't want to be forgotten. Forgive, don't forget. Chain Gangsta Nation." And that's how that went down, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? So anyways, take care of yourselves and go fuck your own mothers.